One of my favorite of the CD recordings that we have of our late president, Sri Dayamata, is this one called Anchoring Your Life in God. And in that recording, Ma talks about this. And it from the first time I heard it, it stuck with me, and I still get inspiration out of it. She said, when everything goes wrong in this world, Master used to say to us, when I don't like this world, when it gets too troublesome, I just turn it off. I switch it off, he says, and I'm lost in that divine consciousness. And then Ma says, well, I can only say this, that if it weren't for that, I don't think I could physically or mentally carry on. One must have that ability to switch it off, and that comes by self-training. By the training that we get in the daily practice of these powerful scientific techniques of meditation. Okay, here's a story I think you'll enjoy. It illustrates this. And this was told by another of Master's close disciples, Miramata. She said that one time Master took the devotees who were living in Encinitas ashram, took them down to this amusement park near Mission Beach. There's an amusement park there, and he would take them there to see the fireworks on 4th of July. And she said they arrived there, and they were supposed to meet some other people that were coming to be with Master's party from San Diego. And so they were waiting, and Master, she said, picked up a wooden Coca-Cola crate and just turned it up and just sat down to wait for them. Well, it happened to be right underneath this old-fashioned wooden roller coaster. It's still there, actually. I don't know if they've remodeled it, but it's down there in Mission Beach. And she said, you know what a racket that makes, the motor and the creaking and clacking, and she's a terrible racket. And so Miramata looked at the other disciple who was there and said, oh, we can't let Master sit here in this noise. This isn't right. Let's go find a quiet place for him. So they went off and they found a more suitable place in their minds, and they found some nice seats, and so Miramata came back and said to Master, Sir, come with me. We found some very nice quiet place for you to sit. Well, he just sat there. So she tried again. She said, Sir, wouldn't you like to go where it's more quiet? I found these really great seats, and we're holding them for you. Come along, I'll take you there. She said he just stiffened a little bit, just sat there. She tried a third time. And she said after the third time, she began to realize, well, probably there's something not quite right here. So she went back to the other disciple and said, I can't even raise his attention. He's not coming. Well, then on the way home, she said she was sitting there in the car in the back seat next to Guruji, and he just looked at her and said, You. I don't understand you. And she said, well, Master, what have I done wrong? He said, I was sitting there in that roar of the roller coaster, and it was turning into the roar of the universal cosmic motor. He said, I could hear the roar of all the atoms in creation, and Divine Mother was there. Oh, it was so beautiful. It was so marvelous. And you kept trying to pull me into your consciousness. She said, well, sir, it was pretty noisy. He said, learn the inner silence. Outer silence doesn't mean much. Learn to go within. Now, how to go within? How to go within. This is where Kriya, first part of the science of Kriya that I want to touch on now is Kriya is the science of the breath. Science of the breath. The science of breathlessness, really. Because as long as you've learned this, and probably it was touched on in the class on the Hong Sa technique, some of the other classes as well, as long as our breath is flowing in the body, so long are we in outer worldly sensory consciousness. The breath keeps us tied to the physical body. That's why in the Gita it says, at birth, all creatures are immersed in delusion. That means with the first breath, The first breath that the baby takes, right away, the life force rushes out of the spine, into the nervous system, into the senses. And it just goes on, forming that connection by which, over a period of years, that incarnate being becomes really a prisoner of matter, a prisoner of the body. So, that's why Guruji said the ancient yogis discovered that the secret of cosmic consciousness is intimately linked with breath mastery. This is really a fascinating subject. Think about this incident. I'm sure you've all read it many times. Remember when Guruji was in Calcutta and getting ready to come here to the United States. He'd already been invited to come to Boston to give that talk. And he was really worried. He said, as I went about my preparations to leave Master and my native land for the unknown shores of America, I experienced not a little trepidation. I had heard many stories about the materialistic West, a land very different from India, steeped in the centuried aura of saints. And he said, to dare the Western airs, I thought, an Oriental teacher should be hardy beyond the trials of any Himalayan cold. Isn't that an interesting word, to dare the Western airs? And then it wasn't just an accident, because then later in the book, when he's getting ready to go back to India in 1935, and then he landed there and he said, gratefully, I was inhaling the blessed air of India. You know, these are not just poetic or metaphorical. There's a very, very important truth about this. Taramata, another great disciple of our guru, one time mentioned to the monks, she was giving some instruction, and she said, remember, when you breathe, you inhale not only the oxygen, but the thoughts that are roaming in the ether. Isn't that interesting? Think about it. When we breathe, we're taking in oxygen because oxygen is a carrier of prana. Prana is not just energy. Prana has intelligence, which means it carries information. You know, how important, what a vital thing this is that we are completely not aware of, is that particularly in these modern times, you know, where we're just awash in information, and what kind of information? You know, you look at what comes at us through advertising, through movies, through music, through all these things. And this is the vibratory, this is the energetic environment in which we live. And as long as we're in body consciousness, Guruji tells us, as long as we're in body consciousness, we're absorbing that, not only through the eyes and the ears and the other senses, but by the very act of breathing. Now, don't get panicky. It'll just make you start breathing faster. So don't panic and just think, well, every time I'm in a materialistic environment, I'm breathing in poison. No, it's not quite so black and white. We can spiritualize what we take in, what we inhale from our senses, but also through our breath. If we tune ourselves to the spiritual vibrations, the presence of God, the presence of Guru, the presence of beauty and truth, all of these are just as present in the environment if we tune ourselves to them. The mantras, Hong and Sa, greatly spiritualize the act of breathing. So does practicing the presence of God. It tunes us to the higher vibrations. And let's just try this simple exercise that we can practice right now. So sit up and close your eyes. And very simply, just feel attuned to that vibration of the presence of God that surrounds you. It's omnipresent. And as you breathe in, you just say to yourself, "Thou art in me." And as you breathe out, exhaling into that surrounding presence, into that surrounding protection and divinity, "I am in thee." Breathe in, "Thou art in me." Breathe out, "I am in thee." Thou art in me, I am in thee. This is a powerful way of spiritualizing the environment, and the act of breathing. Something that you can do whenever you have to take a little just time out and break and regroup and recenter in the midst of all the craziness that happens in all of our lives.